looking for?
Welcome to the Supercoach Take podcast. The Marsh series is over, so we have a lot to discuss today, and we have a special guest. How exciting. First, we'll cross to my co-host, the young CLB, as he's known on the Discord. Enno, what's going on? And tell us where we're at.
G'day, George. What's happening, mate? Marsh series is over, so let's get into it. You can always follow us on Supercoach Take at Twitter, Facebook at Supercoach Take as well. Get our podcast on Spotify and Podbean. And finally, join the Discord. As we like to call it, it's the fine electronic establishment.
The finest electronic establishment going around.
Exactly.
And also, we have a very special guest, former esports caster, if you don't mind, Davey, an integral member of our Discord. Davey, can you give us a bit of intro?
Having me on. Enno, what happened there, mate? The recording started and your voice dropped like 2 octaves.
Did it really?
Just put it on for us. Yes, it did. You're like super friendly, and then all of a sudden it's like, here, good day, boys. Yeah, what's going on?
Me, boys. It's always me.
Well, thanks for having me on. I've been playing fantasy sports for AFL for the better part of a decade now. Started out playing fantasy, and then when they moved to, I guess, what I consider the ridiculous 30 trade format, or no, what was unlimited trade format with 30 for Supercoach. I then moved over to being playing Supercoach for a few years now, with my best finish coming last year where I placed top 400. So looking to build on that. I've also won my cash league for total point, I think 4 out of the last 5 years. So pretty good track record now.
Hey, I like winning. I never win the league, but every cash one, I've won 2 of the total points. So I'm always happy there's a prize for that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, where there hasn't been, I've been pushing hard for make sure whoever finishes.
Yeah,
first,
exactly.
Get some love too.
All right, that's enough pumping our own tires. We're going to get to just quickly coronavirus today. NBA got shut down about an hour and a half ago. So I assume we're all kind of concerned. What does that mean for the AFL and also Supercoach? I mean, the only thing I can say on it is there's about 120 cases in Australia, and it's probably going to take a player or a staff member to get it for something to happen, as in games being cancelled. Australia has it under control a lot better than everywhere else. So we can only hope for the best, but for now, just carry on as normal. Do you guys have any thoughts?
All I want to say is Rudy Gobert is an idiot. That's all I want to say.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, look, from everything I've read, and I'm not an expert on the topic, and you should not be taking coronavirus virus advice from me, but the athletes, the players themselves are going to be fine. Most of the demographic that actually play fantasy footy should be fine. For those under about the age of 40, the chances of death are quite low. It just presents as normal flu for a lot of people. But the reality is they have to protect wider society, the elders, as we call them these days. And so I think from the AFL's perspective, they're going to do everything they can to protect them. So whether that means playing in empty stadiums, I hope that's as bad as it gets, because I don't want this preseason to be for naught. But yeah, I mean, as much as I would love the AFL system to go ahead, we really should be pushing the AFL to do right by the players and the fans.
Yep. Okay, we can get to our hot takes for today. So my first hot take, Caleb Daniel is a trap for me. I just think a little bit unproven, the 2 hamstrings and the terrible tattoos. Another thing is I don't know if this is what the Dogs will do, but in the second Marsh game, they shared around the kick-ins, so Daniel got a lot less kick-ins that game. I just have a bad feeling about this, more of a gut feel thing, but a few things that go against his favour as well, as I just said. So for me, I don't like Caleb Daniel, prefer other options. Enno, your hot take, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on yours, I think I agree. I don't know, he's 40K almost, so I just think it's overpriced, and he could just average 90 for this season. So he might be in our teams at one point.
Agree.
Just don't start him, I don't think. Anyway.
You need to turn the takes up a little bit hotter, because all 3 of us, I think, agree on this one. I think we saw JJ starting to move back in Marsh. They were playing around with kickouts as well. And one of the other things I was looking at in the preseason was just how weak he is in one-on-ones. I think last year we saw the Dogs hide him pretty well and not get isolated too much. But when he did, it was very obvious. And I'm really interested to see if teams are able to exploit that this year, and then what the Dogs do in response. And that may mean pushing Daniel into situations where he's not as exposed defensively, but also then can't score as well on the Supercoach perspective.
Alrighty. My hot take, this is not as hot as well, really. We'll save that for Davey in a second. But Marlon Pickett, I just don't think he'll be, an amazing rookie. Like people will think like he's going to be a good option. He'll play early. But I can see him just averaging 60, 60.
60?
Maybe. Yeah, 70 maybe.
Ooh,
like
okay.
People might expect like Tim Kelly or something of 2 years ago, but I definitely don't see that. So
no.
But he's going to be an option. We're picking him, but yeah.
60 or 70 that plays 22 games sounds like an outstanding rookie this year. So I don't know. I mean, average in years gone by, but
yeah, no, that's a fair point. But I mean, he's 20 in the 22 now, but we do have players coming back that who knows how Richmond's setup is. We might have been playing rookie ruck this year in round one. I don't even know because Nank's injured, so we'll see. But I think he could definitely average just 60, and that'll be as good as we get. But we definitely take that, obviously, as well. All right, your turn, JD.
Yeah, so my trap is going to be one Houston. We have a problem. And look, he was locked into my team from when Supercoach started all the way through to the announcement with the China game being cancelled and then the buys for Port and St Kilda being moved around as a result. And I think given that we can trade him in after that first buy, and we get some security around that. We get some point bonus because then he will be able to cover during the buys for those that are away. I think he's just one that we probably shouldn't be starting, especially given that there's someone that shares his buy in defense that should be locked into our teams above Houston, in my mind. And you don't want to be playing two bench rookies, given how weak rookies are this year, with Robertson, the guy you should have locked in, and Houston both on your bench. So I think you have to give Houston a miss, and I think he's a trap, not because he won't be a great player this year, and I'm fairly sure I'll finish my year with him in, but I just think he's a trap to start with because of the situation with rookies and then buys.
I do not agree with that. In previous years, one of my favorite things, I'd always have like Robbie Gray in my team with the Gold Coast and Port buy coming up, and I would just take the hit in the first round in their buy round, and then I'd be able to carry them through the buy rounds. In the first buy round, you don't want to be trading ideally, but sometimes things happen. I always end up trading in that buy round anyway. So for me, I just take the hit. Maybe you lose 40 points or something. And another thing is trying to squeeze out in the defense. At the moment I can't even afford Laird or Sicily, so I have to stick with Houston as well. So, depends on your team. I don't think it's going to hurt you that bad, that buy, but that's just me.
I mean, it's all on the rookie landscape, really, isn't it? That round you could have a rookie get dropped, and then you got to play another one instead of Houston, and like JD said, Robertson, if you have him as well, you could end up with a donut. You don't know. So,
I think Robertson is gone by then.
Yeah, it's touch and go.
See, I don't think Robertson will be because you want him to play through the buys for your defense. And then I think you upgrade him at the end to whatever defender premium that's playing the last buy that you didn't pick up. So, for example, I'm not starting Williams. He's got the last buy. I think after that is when you get rid of Robertson and get Williams in to finish your defense.
That's a good point. I'm starting Houston. I might end up shoving him on the mid bench and see how we go. Maybe that doesn't work out. Who knows? But
that is an option. If DPP opens up and throughout the year, you can get through that round 11 bye with Robin on one bench, Houston on the other. I just think that there's a little bit of risk in there that brings him into trap territory. When I do think players like Sicily present enough value that you don't need to start Houston.
That could work. I mean, Starcevic has the def mid as well, so I mean, it all depends if he gets picked next week anyway. But yeah, that could work.
Okay, we need to speak about structure this year, and a lot of it has to do with a rookie crisis, I guess you could say. I'm pretty concerned about the rookies because we're pretty much going to be needing to wait until right before the Richmond-Carlton game, which will help will confirm our structures sort of thing. So it looks like we have to either spread out our premiums a bit more by going for more mid prices, which a lot of them are in the forward line, and we have to pay up for rookies a lot more than we used to. So for me, I'm loading up on guys like Robertson. I also have Jackson Hately. That's another story. I'm not going to speak about him today. Just for now, because I'm trying to stretch out my premiums and rookies to the point where I don't have to run, Jack Marnie if he plays. I don't want to run Crockett or Ben Davis. I don't want to run Georgiades. Tobe Watson, is he going to play? Nobody knows yet. So for me, my goal is to have 0 bad rookies, if that makes sense. Rookies that don't have a lot of scoring potential. I'd even get rid of King if I could. That's just me. Yep. So how are you guys sort of working around? We'll start with Enno. How are you working around the rookie or the structure for 2020?
Well, I've got 2 options. So I was going to say, I know where you two guys are making it, saving a bit of cash, but we can get to that in a sec. Right now I have it in defence. So I've got like Sicily, Doc, and then it goes straight to like Robertson and Noble. That's my structure. So I can still have the 5 mids, still have Grundy and Gawn, and then I've got the 4 forward mid-price, well, not mid-prices, but 4 primos in there with 2 rookies on the field. So I'm giving it a bit in defence at the moment. That's what it's set up now. The only other option, if I have to do it, would be to drop a midfielder. That's purely because I'm starting Gawn 100%. So right now it's in defence is where I'm giving a bit. So, yeah, where about you guys?
Yeah, so my approach has been generally to try and find value amongst the premiums that you like. So this is like picking Sicily over Lloyd, for example, starting someone like Oliver in the midfield, or picking a Dunkley over McRae, and just trying to find 50, 40K over and over again. So I can fill my team with what I perceive to be underpriced premiums, and have tried to avoid paying for the people that are at the top of their line already, with the exception of the rucks. I currently still have both Grundy and Gawn in there. But everyone else, like Whitfield, McRae, Lloyd, I've got rid of all of them for alternative premiums that are just slightly cheaper. So I can avoid having to run what I perceive to be some of the like mid-price or expensive rookie traps. But I'm totally on board with George here. So I look at my forward bench at the moment and see Georgiades and King, and these are rookies I wouldn't run any other year. And then down back, and even in the midfield, you've got a bunch of rookies there that I'm pretty sure aren't going to get games. And to me, this really says you need to have a backup plan no matter where your team lands at the moment, and be prepared to completely switch once teams drop.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I'm going to end up having probably 12 keepers plus Devon Smith, say 13 keepers, with Devon Smith and Doherty included, plus a whole bunch of, Robertson, Noble, Cumming, a few others as well. So yeah, it is a concern this year, but, there are ways around it. So I definitely would have a plan B if your team doesn't come through. And now we can get to we can speak about the defenders in the Marsh series. So go over most of them, mostly premiums. Luke Ryan only had the 1 game, but it looks like he's playing a pretty fantasy-friendly role. I'm not sure if he has to man up at times, because I man up a lot more because there are a few injuries to the Fremantle key defenders, but he's played fantastic. Sorry, he played Marsh 1, not Marsh 2. Any thoughts on Ryan?
I'm pretty sure it's just the Freo game style that we see. A lot of kick mark, so that's just going to be good for him. He takes a lot of marks, takes kick-ins. So, I haven't had him in seasons past, but I can definitely see myself at some point having him this season.
Yeah, he's probably one of my favourite premiums to start that I'm currently not starting. I wasn't very warm on him coming into this year, but seeing how Fremantle's game plans change, and they're with that more kick mark style that we'd expect Collingwood or Hawthorn to be playing, that just seems super friendly for Supercoach. He was already coming on really strong last year. We know that he had a drop in a few of those games, I think due to back injury was the rumour. And we also expect the ball to be down Freo's end a lot this year. I can't imagine him getting a much better. So just there's a bunch of signs that point to Ryan being really good. It does come down to me, I guess, a little bit about injury concern.
Yeah, that is a thing. He was injured, late last year. And he had some random soreness in the preseason as well. So Who knows? But looks like he's going to score fine. So if you want to pick him, sure. It's just so difficult to fit these guys in, especially if you go on like Whitfield, Dusty. You don't have Dusty, do you, Davey? No, you don't have
Dusty.
Whitfield,
I don't have Whitfield at the moment.
Okay, you're going to speak about that after. I need to hear this.
Okay. It's changing every day at the moment. I'm honestly, I'm playing around with things a lot. There's a bunch of players that aren't moving anymore, but there are some that I'm just keep flicking around the structure to see how I can get enough players that I like in and get some of these really bad rookies off.
I think it's just good to know what you can do. So when Thursday comes, you know what I mean? That's the best thing to do is play around so you can do stuff in that hour or two before the Richmond game.
Before we get to the forwards, which is in a little bit, we can speak about which premiums should we sacrifice, because we have to sacrifice someone and we're going to miss out on somebody, and hopefully the ones we don't pick stay calm, sort of thing. So next we can go over, say, Laird and Sicily. I think Laird and Sicily look like perfectly valid selections. I don't see any reason why not to pick them. Do we agree?
They're both in my side at the moment. Laird, I wasn't going to start this year despite the value presented, just because I was worried about Brodie Smith and then Miller as well. But with Smith pushing out into the wing, I'm pretty confident that Laird can rebound a lot. And then, I mean, if watching Hawthorn in Marsh too, Hawthorn as a whole passed the eye test, right? Everything they said they were doing kind of came to fruition. They recruited those key position defenders that freed Sicily up and let him play that floating role. They'd also recruited the forwards like Patton, that should mean that Sicily's not swapping down there. And then finally for Segler, they freed him up as well. So yeah, I'm really high on Sicily this year as well. He just presents great value.
Yep. Dan Houston. So what we saw from Dan Houston, did get the sling tackle. I think he'll have enough days. I'm not sure if he was concussed or not. He was tested for it. They decided to rest him, but he has about 2 weeks to recover. Usually that's enough for concussion, most times anyway. So forgetting the bye for a second, because we've already discussed that. It looks like he's going to play midfield. Played really well on Bontempelli. Think he's a fine pick. But you guys don't have him, do you? Either of you?
I did for a long time, and I just don't anymore, just the way the structure worked. I got Sicily and Doherty, and then, like I said, Robertson, I think, at D3, and then Noble. So he's a great pick, I agree. It's just, with that buy that we said before and what have you, I just not got him in my side at the moment, but, I mean, that could change in the next week.
Yeah, it's only because of buy structure. If that wasn't an issue, he would still be in my side above Laird.
So if you guys need to find 20k from somewhere, do you guys go Sicily down to Houston?
That's an option.
It'd be Laird to Houston. I'm not moving Sicily on. I think behind Doherty, he's probably my favourite pick at defence.
Yeah, no, I would hate to get rid of Sis, but yeah.
We can move into Doherty. Okay, so still, we have to think of Doherty as a long-term prospect because it's 22 games in a season. Coming off 2 ACLs. He looked good in Marsh too. He is playing halfback. It's not the most demanding role. So I'm picking Doherty. I think it could be bad if you don't pick him, which is part of the reason why I am picking him. But definitely a lot of upside with him, and looks like the main man back there. We all picking Doherty?
Sam Lockerty, mate.
Yeah. If you want a hot take, he'll finish top 2 defenders this year. I think especially in a year where we are struggling for rookies, right? We're looking for value. I don't know how anyone can pass on someone that is that underpriced given their potential. And he may blow up, but these are the risks you have to take if you want to win it all.
Yep. Next we have Jordan Dawson. I like him kind of, but
he was your flavour last week until you watched him.
Who wasn't my flavour last week?
That's a good point.
Jordan Dawson. We saw him play with Mills and Lloyd back in the team, and I wasn't convinced. He only scored a 50-odd. I've watched interviews on him with his coaches, and his coaches speak about him, and they call him Mr. Fix-It, which is not what we want in Supercoach.
No.
So there's potential for him to move to the half forward, play more on a wing. Where we know he scores is defence. And is he guaranteed that role for 22 games despite training there in the preseason? Probably not. It's too much risk for me. Anno?
Yeah, I think I probably said it. I said it on a pod a month ago. I'm just not touching Lloyd and Dawson until I see what happens. And if what we saw on the weekend is going to continue, I probably can't see myself with either unless Lloyd, drops significant value and, he's under 500k or something and he's scoring all right. That's the only guy I can see myself with. So definitely not Dawson.
Yeah, agree with both of you. Looking forward to watching him more this year and seeing how he develops as a player. I just can't justify picking him at the moment.
Yeah. I reckon he's a gun. He's got a sick boot on him.
So one who's come into consideration is Jeremy Howe. He's about 450k. Scored really well in Marsh too.
No, Jordan.
What?
Okay.
Talk us through it.
Let me
Why
explain.
Consideration.
Well, his name's popped up. I am not picking Howe. He's had too many injuries for me. He used to be super durable, not anymore. Some people are considering him. So as far as I know, I think once he got over his injuries last year, I think he averaged nearly 100 in that back line. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So not for me, but I see, if you want to pick him, I can see it. You can reason with it.
He's always around the mark, but didn't he fell off big time last year?
Yeah, he was sitting around that 90 to 95 mark a couple of years ago, but dropped down to 80 last year. So the value's there, but he's, I think, 30 this year.
Yeah. And like George said, few injuries. Yeah, I'm against that pick for sure.
I mean, he crushed it in the finals from memory, though. Both games, I think he was, one of Collingwood's best. So I can see why some people remember that fondly and want to jump on. But no, it's a pass to me.
I think we should drop a league code.
Alrighty, I think I've got one.
Okay, go for it.
You still have another one to drop as well, don't you?
It's in front of me. Should I say it?
Yeah, go for it.
2, 2, 3, 1, 4, 4.
Boys, this is great. I've struggled to get into the podcast leagues all year, and I'm just straight
in on
one.
the pod. Yeah, that's the smart way.
That's the 10th league. I was waiting for that one. Excellent.
That is the cheat way.
So we've got a few people that I want to have as guests in that league already, and David, you're part of the fam, so you got dibs on that spot. There's about 13 spots left, so go for it.
Before anyone else worries, I do have another one left. It's only got me in it, so there'll be 17 spots for that. We'll release that next week. Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
All right, so we can go for the midfielders. We can speak about the midfielders.
Yep.
First thing we can speak about is the doggies mids. I was listening to the Traders podcast, the DT Talk guys, on what they were speaking about it, and they had the guy who finished second in AFL fantasy. Obviously, different format.
Can I just stop? You're playing fantasy now, aren't you? You made a team yesterday.
Oh no,
you're a trader, mate. That's just I want to get that out there so the listeners.
Do you want to know the story of how I got into Supercoach? So I tell people it's because because of the rule changes. So I made an AFL fantasy team and a Supercoach team. My fantasy team was ranked 50k, and my Supercoach team that I put together in 5 minutes ranked 200 in the first round, and that's how I moved to Supercoach.
Were they like the same almost, or
no? I just thought, it was back then. I thought like, who's better for fantasy? So I got I thought, who's better for Supercoach? I had like Josh Kennedy, Selwood, and stuff like that. It was pretty much dumb luck because I still didn't really know how to play the game back then.
But now you're playing it this year, so I want to know what's going on.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was going to be an easy car for me, so anyway.
Anyway, continue.
So what you're saying is you're listening to Traders, you're listening to the guy finish second last year, and you're like, this guy doesn't sound that smart. I'm pretty sure.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. He was saying, I completely lost track. So he was saying that he's worried about the dogs mids just with how they're used, because we see them average 130 for periods, but some of them move around the ground a bit. McRae might start off half forward or wing a little bit more. Dunkley even said this year, he's happy. If the coach wants him to play elsewhere, he'll play elsewhere. He would do the team thing. I hope he didn't mean that.
Did he say that? Oh, okay.
Only because what we saw in Marsh 2 is that, and they might just be testing the waters, but Bailey Smith got more involved, and Lipinski got more involved, and English took more points. And I fully expect Bont to increase his average a little bit. So that I feel like there's more points to go around. No, I feel like there's less points to go around.
At the same time, yeah. Sort of
Having said that, does that mean McRae and Dunkley go from 130 when they're in the midfield? Do they go down to 120? I still take that. Hopefully they don't drop too much. Even McRae said the other day, I'm still entering the prime of my career. I still think, I can improve my game. That's exactly what you want to hear from him. He's very switched on sort of thing. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not that worried. Especially for someone like Dunkley that did have that lower average at the start of the year when he was playing forward. There's a lot of value in him anyway, so I think he's probably the safest of the three. But you look at what they did in Marsh 1 and 2. They played those three plus Smith and Lipinski, and that was it. Almost every other team had 15 other guys rotating through them, trialing stuff. The Dogs are locked and loaded when it comes to that midfield. So I'm really not that worried about them losing at many points. Plus, we think they're going to improve this year. At least I do. And you've got English improving as well, which should help when it comes to CBAs as well. So, I don't think there's that much downside risk in any of them. I'm not as bullish as Bont, but I think Dunkley's a really good pick. And if you've got the cash, McRae's excellent. But I probably will miss just because there's not any value left in him.
So no McRae?
At the moment. I've had him in my team. But yeah, I think there's other good mid options that are cheaper.
I can understand
But he'll be in my team before his buy probably.
Okay, we can move to the other midfielders. So Nat Fyfe, I think perfectly valid selection, says he's going to be at his peak for the next 3 years.
Didn't he say on Gary and Tim he's going to play for another 7?
Oh,
That's what he said. Yeah, I know.
Doing a Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's a pass for me.
He's unpopular in the court, isn't he?
I think he is, but he's about 40%.
Very unpopular. Yeah, in actual Supercoach, yes, but
I still think he's fine. I'd just rather get McRae and Neil. Going another 650 guys, I can't do it. It's too hard.
Mm.
So we can move to Lockie. So yeah, Nat Fyfe's perfectly fine. There's not really much to speak on him.
Yeah.
We can go to Lockie Neil. Davey, not a fan of Neil.
Yeah, no, never had him in my team. I was pretty negative on him last year, and that bit me a little bit, actually a lot bit. So maybe don't listen to me on Neil.
Anything?
Yeah, no, I haven't learned anything. I don't know. Sometimes this is like one of my worst habits when it comes to Supercoach, where there's just a player I don't like, and then I make sure I'm negative on them each year until it's true, and then I said, "See, I told you I was right." And I think that's going to be Neil again. I probably won't start with him. The other thing with Neil is, despite his great durability and his great scoring, he's got that first buy, so he'll be an upgrade target after that for me, I think, rather than starting him.
Yeah, I'd see the buy thing, but at the same time, looking at his fixtures, I just think early they're so good, and late he gets a few tags post buy. So, I mean, obviously, if you start him, you're not trading him out because of that, but I feel like you want to own him in the first half of that period. I mean, I just looked at the fixtures a few weeks ago, and that's why he's been in my team sort of all pre-season. It's really soft draw. So,
do you think the Doggies going to do? The Lions going to do better or worse this year?
Oh, see, I made a lot of money on them last year in the finals. I knew they were going to go straight sets. Like they were just too early and whatever. But I can see them still being up there, top 4 again. So I don't think they'll drop off by any means. But I don't think they'll go bang to top, 2 in the comp either.
Yeah, I think the schedule's much harder this year, so I am more about there being a little bit of a regression. But I haven't looked at their when it lands. So you're saying that their difficulty is all in the back half of the year and the draw is
just Neil himself. Like if he's going to get any attention, it will be in like the last I think it's like the last actual month of the season. He gets like the ball and
Right after his bye, he gets the ball. I think it's around 13 or 14, and you get him in round 12.
I might be waiting. Oh, okay. I need to have a look at this.
And here's
But
the
yeah,
thing.
I'm pretty sure I'm not starting Neil. I am still worried about what happened with Lyons last year as well.
that's true.
And the attention he copped in the second half of the year once they were really humming along. I think teams will put more work into him this preseason. Just a hunch.
I think watching this preseason, I don't know if it was the fact that no one was on him, but he just looked like sharper and cleaner. I'm not sure. I like the look of him.
That's the Bont effect as well. Like, are you ever going to let Bont roam around for a game like that? He's going to crush you every time. So I think once the real thing starts, you'll see some of these top players really get clamped down on.
Yep. Okay, so we can go to Patrick Cripps. Are we all starting Cripps?
I am, certainly.
He hasn't left my team yet, but I also haven't done any research and I haven't seen anyone else discuss him, which either means he's a no-brainer lock and we should all have him, or no one's done the research and he may be someone that we can not start.
It could be like an ownership thing. His ownership's so high, and the way he started last year, was it 13 out of 15 Brownlow votes?
Yeah.
It's big trouble if you don't start him and he does that again.
Yeah.
You get him in the back half of the year when he starts slowing down a little bit. I mean, it's not for sure, but it's what's happened. I think that happened last year, not sure about the year before. He did have that game 2 years ago where he kind of just played really sore. And that can happen with him. Like, he looks like he goes into the game sore and doesn't play at his peak. But yeah, for me, just ownership is too high and not having him could be bad. But if you don't want to pick him, there's so many good options. I don't mind it, to be honest.
Looking at his fixture, it's actually not like it's dogs, Tigers and Dogs first two. Then a few soft teams, Essendon. Sorry, JG. Swans.
They're not a soft team. Come on.
North.
Yep.
And then he gets, before his bye, round 12, GWS, he has the bye in round 13. So he gets the ball right before his bye. 3-0 round 14 after the bye. Like you could, I don't hate not starting him. It's ballsy, very ballsy. I've got him, but it's maybe one to look at if you're trying to take a bit of a risk.
Just remember, one of Cripps' worst games last year was against the mighty Essendon Bombers when a young Dylan Clark was brought in and did
That's
the
true. But I've seen you say he's not going to play, is he? He's not going to play.
I don't think so. I mean, they might bring him for games like that, and who knows with that injured list what happens. But I do think the interesting thing with Cripps last year was how many down games he had, and he seemed just a little bit more settled to the tag. And I wonder how much of that was just due to what was happening with Carlton behind the scenes versus anything to do with Cripps in particular.
Who knows? But
with Cripps, I think there was an article the other day about, he wants the Carlton midfield to stand up. I don't think they will. Like, he's got Walsh, and then, Ed Kerno and Murphy will do their thing. But the young kids, they haven't really shown a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale hasn't shown much, I don't think.
No, I know. I was kidding.
So does he get, is he one day going to, spit the dummy and say, one of these kids, do I have to carry this team through another year in a developing year? Okay, what I just said was a bit silly, but... should he be playing at his full-time midfield in a developing year? I always thought he should play more forward. I don't think that's going to happen though. Just to preserve his career. Anyway, we can move to I'm locking in Cripps anyway. Move to Josh Kelly.
The most negative we've been on a lock. Yeah.
Okay, Josh Kelly played a little bit more on a wing. Still think he'll get plenty of inside time. I think for me, most of the Discord, the plan was he stays fully fit. We know his ceiling. We'll take the punt on him. So I'll be picking Josh Kelly, I think, this year. 34 touches on the weekend against Richmond. No easy matchup. Like what I saw, ticked all the boxes. So for me, I will pick him. If he gets injured, there's plenty of options to sideways too. Hopefully, if he does get injured, it's not in the first quarter. Anna, how do you feel about Josh Kelly?
The same, mate. I think we said it on a pod 2 months ago. If his man is fully fit, there's no way he's not in my team round one. And he's ticked all the boxes, like you said. The what do you have, 20 touches half time on the weekend? And I was thinking, no, don't do that, mate. But he slowed up and only just turned. So no, he's only 10% or so a little bit over now, but locked in my side, and I don't think he'll move.
Yep, M1, and he
M1?
hasn't moved all preseason.
Oh,
The only way he would be coming out of my side if he was injured. I had him all last preseason until his injury just before round one as well. Like, I love him. He should be the best player in the league by the end of this year if he stays fully fit.
Yes, I love that. Got him in a Brownlow multi as well.
Oh, you may struggle just because of the votes going around
That's true.
GWS, but he was so
value.
Good. He's
the best super coach player, man. Like, point scorer, like Bont. Every kick he has is just effective. Like, the best scoring points you can get for a kick in super coach. 40 meters, hit a target, goal. Score involvements, goal assists. So, yeah, it doesn't take him long to score.
Haitley might take a few points off him. That's the only thing.
He's not getting a game over Green, is he? Nah.
He better. Anyway, we can move to Tom Mitchell. So last time, I think we spoke about Tom Mitchell. We didn't see him play, and now we've seen him play, and it looks like he looked certainly better than what I expected. For me, he played 82% time on ground, 84, something like that. That's pretty good, but he's a 90% time on ground guy, and he's even said at the captain's thing, was it the captain's thing? I don't know, some AFL event, that it's going to take him a little while to get back to his best. So I think we'll see his best maybe a third or halfway through the season. Who knows? More than happy to wait for him to hopefully drop in price. Anno?
I agree with everything you said, mate. Definitely see him in my side at some point. Just not starting him for, just want to see how he goes once round one kicks off and all that sort of thing. But I don't mind him as a pick, really. It's a bit of a pod pick. I'm sure JD will know what his ownership is because I think he has him, don't you?
I do have Tom Mitchell, although I think his ownership's somewhat high. I think he's near 20%.
Okay.
He's one of those players that I think, from what I've seen amongst the more hardcore communities, not that big of a fan of him, but I've been on him from early on. I think the type of injury he had, where it's a broken leg and not soft tissue or ACL, is less likely to reoccur. I think, unlike some of the other big examples we've seen where players have had broken legs, such as like Brown or Fife, he hasn't been rushed back. Hawthorn's medical department is the best in the league from everything we've seen. Tom Mitchell is a freak, and we're getting him at a discount. So I think like his lower bound is what you're paying for him, and I think his upper bound is to be right back up there pushing 125 to 130. The only other thing I'm concerned about was it felt like last year some of the accumulators were scoring less Supercoach than what we'd seen in prior years, and Tom Mitchell's obviously an accumulator. So I just wonder whether there's some background magic that's happened with champion data that may see Tom Mitchell score less. But this is just like really out there thinking. I don't know if that's actually something that's happened.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dunkley and McRae were still scoring, averaging nearly 130 when they were playing 80-90% in the centre bounce attendances. It's an interesting point, though. Could be true.
So I thought McRae increased his disposals but reduced his average last year. And we saw both the Crouches just stink it. I mean, they're unique in their own way anyway. And then Gaff, I think, was another one where he was averaging so many disposals, but just it wasn't converting to high Supercoach scores. So I just wonder if something happened where some of these really high accumulators aren't getting scored as well as what they used to.
Yep. Okay. Patrick Dangerfield, I think he averages 115. There's not really much to say on him. Do we agree, disagree?
I like him as a pick. He's not my team.
Yeah, agreed. That's exactly the same.
Clary?
Love him.
I'm not sure. Locked and loaded?
Yeah, locked and loaded hasn't moved for a while now. Especially once the rigs came out in one of the, I think it was Marsh 1, where him and Petrarca were standing next to each other. We saw the effects of the fitness program. Yeah, I'm all in on Oliver.
Interesting. Okay. I don't mind this pick. Definitely the money saved definitely helps. I just love the other options too much to part ways with them. Jack Viney. I've said this so many times. Viney and Oliver, I think the relationship is Clary's points go down slightly. I don't know if that's a thing this year. But yeah, perfectly fine. Eno?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Fine pick. I did have him in my team at some point, I think, over Neil. Save that 60k or whatever that is. But just found myself back with Neil again. So, yeah, a bit with Clary at some point in the year, I think. He's definitely around the top 8 mark. So, he's a good pick.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest risk with him, which is I'm saving money, but I think he's going to be like 6, 7, or 8 in terms of top averaging mids, and it wouldn't be much for him to like actually finish 12th, and then that would make it probably a pretty bad pick. But yeah, I do like him.
So now we can move on to a lot of options that I haven't considered, but just because I think it's going to be very difficult to break into that top 10 bracket. So Elliot Yeo, I actually don't mind this as an upgrade target. He started slow last year because he had an interrupted preseason. I can't remember what it was for. I think it was his foot. I don't remember. But should average low 110s. Don't see why not. I think he's a fine upgrade target, but not a starting pick. Sometimes he has late outs, which is very annoying. And sometimes Adam Simpson, especially in the derbies, makes him hard tag Fife. So probably not going to pick Yo, but I think he's an okay upgrade target. Would you guys consider him as an upgrade target throughout the season?
I don't think I'd even consider him. I mean, obviously, you have to see how he goes, but Tim Kelly's come into this side, who we'll talk about in a sec, and I just don't think he's not a massive accumulator either. He's a big tackler, so that's a good thing for fantasy, of course, but I think there's so many other options to go with Yo, so not for me, and it'd take a lot of convincing for me to pick him during the year as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Eagles midfield is going to look very good in games, but it's not going to translate to Supercoach.
Stephen Cornelio, preseason hero last year, again this year. Have we learned anything? For me, he's a no. I just remember him scoring 150 in the first round, not scoring above 110 for the next 8 rounds, and then scoring 200, then 60. Doesn't make any sense. It's just a headache. His disposal keeps his score down, and he looks like he's going to play more forward, which theoretically shouldn't help his scoring. I would not pick Cornelio. How about you guys, Eno?
Not for me. Nah, like we said, the other Uber Primos are just ahead of him, way ahead of him for me. Playing forward, like, he'd probably score those really big games against like the really bad teams when he's playing forward, kicking three goal assists as well. But against good teams, I don't see him scoring that well, playing a lot of forward time. So, not for me.
I've warmed a little bit just with the Taranto injury. I think he was going to play more forward time just out of necessity so they could get enough of the young talent through the midfield. But with injuries, it does maybe, I reckon that he gets a little bit more time in there. But yeah, I think there's better options. Although, I mean, if you have the cojones to pick Cornelio, then good on you.
Yep. We have Tim Kelly on this list. He's a no.
So no for me. He's so highly owned, boys. Like, he's more than Dunkley, he's more than Jelly. Man, it's crazy.
Whoa. They saw all the headlines through the off season, and they actually believed he was good.
I mean, it's probably 10% West Australians, but still.
I can't understand that.
12%. So Kelly's 13, but yeah, he's ahead of, oh my God, Clary's 12 as well. Dunkley's 11. So
wow.
It's crazy.
Disgraceful. Next is Hugh McCluggage. He's gained a bit of traction, expecting him to improve, but it's a massive jump from, 94 to, he needs to go, like 110 might not be enough. I don't think 110 is enough. He needs to go like 113. For maybe that price, maybe 110, but you're still going to lose points in the back end of the year. Eno?
I agree, mate. We had to put him down because he's getting a lot of traction. I mean, he's only 5% of sides, but I feel like in the community he's been talked about a lot, and I see a lot of people picking him in teams, and I just don't see it, man. With all the options we've just discussed, if you're trying to save money, you go to Yo or Cogs would be the only ones I'd consider at this sort of price. I know Yo's still a bit up there, but people are really trying to save money in the midfield, and I just don't see that as a place to do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly look at the top 10 mids from last year. How many of them play predominantly outside? And the answer is none of them, and that's what McCluggage does. So he's a no for me.
Yep.
Still, they want to play Dev Robertson, I think, and then they got Lyons in the middle, Zorko. So, don't feel like there's room for him to play full time inside, and he might as well play him on the outside because he's probably the best in the comp, along with Whitfield there. Okay, so that's the midfielders. We can move on to the rucks. So there's no point discussing Grundy. He doesn't care in the preseason. He scored 80, 70. He's been same with intra-clubs. Every intra-club I read, Grundy looked disinterested. So we
He
can
scored 80 round one last year, mate, and everyone traded him out. Not everyone. But some faults.
Oh, yeah. I remember some people on Twitter getting very excited about not starting Grundy last year, and then from round 2 on, they just didn't tweet again.
Yeah, they were gone. Those accounts were deleted.
So
I think it's George, mate. This is your point of call because you got one guy written here that I think you were. I mean, JD had him at some point as well.
Yeah.
But that is Big Naismith. So off you go.
Sam Naismith. So I've done a bit of homework on this one. Sussed his Instagram. Seems like he's a decent bloke.
But he has.
He has a
tats,
Jesus
mate.
tattoo, so it must be all right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
they're not
a
great.
negative.
Oh, you're funny.
No, I like the Jesus tattoo. That means he's
Oh, okay.
good morals.
Oh, so you got certain
So-
tattoos that are good. Okay.
But these arm tattoos, I don't know what he's done there. But so his injury history is glandular fever, 2017-ish, 2016-ish, I think. Osteitis pubis, and then the ACL early. I think it was round 3, 2018. Was expected to come back in mid to early 2019. Felt pain underneath his knee or behind his knee, and needed some scar tissue cleaned out. So they just called off the year. I think that's how it went down. And has been in full training since January. Played really well against Jacobs and kind of faded out against Goldstein. But, he hasn't played for a long time. 250k for a ruckman. In any other line, I think you take that, except for the midfield maybe. I'm considering this pick only if we have a rookie crisis sort of thing. If the rookies, we don't get Tobe Watson, we don't get maybe Dev Robertson, even Tom Green, he's not a sure thing, but you'd think bloody hope he is. So I think you want a 75-80. 75 might not be enough, but if you have Gorn, you might be looking at a bench terrible rookie or even almost a bench donut nearly. So I don't want to be in that scenario. And if that scenario does happen, I think I go Naismith. But yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. What do you think, Anno?
I was about to say, I've got a question for you. So does this require, an R3 that's playing
I'll
or
run
Segler in your forward line? Yeah, so you got to tell people if you don't run Segler, would you do this?
Bailey Williams.
Yeah.
might help.
Yeah. I think if Cherry and Williams, or like Williams and Cameron, or Cherry and Cameron, 2 of those 3 are picked, then I think you
they get
definitely
picked.
can. Or I don't know. We'll
Cherry
see.
and
We'll see. I
Cameron,
mean, I think if you're starting Segler, you have to start Naismith because there's just so much value there. And you will see, like, even if Gorn and Grundy hold averages, they're going to drop in price. So you will get a little bit of value both ways. Just I think Naismith will average close to 85, and then you'll see Gorn's price come off. So I think there's a ton of value there. I'm not even opposed to Sam Jacobs either. I think he's an all right pick as well. The buys work out a little bit better that way. But you do have to have either the rookies or Segler to support it. Otherwise, it's just way too much risk.
We'll speak about Segler in the forwards. But another thing with this Naismith and Gorn argument is like if I'm running Naismith, it's I look at the whole team, what it does, and I've worked out if I'm running Naismith, I actually run Deb Smith at F5, which I really, really like. I prefer to field some of the defender rookies than the forward rookies. Curtis Taylor, Rankin, they are small forwards that are going to lose it, play in a lot of losses. Max King, you can't field him. yeah, you just wouldn't field him. I don't really want to field any of these forward rookies, to be honest. And, if you take the hit and play Gorn, maybe it's worth it. I'm not sure. But for me, I feel like I might be able to get an advantage there. But don't get me wrong, starting Naismith, it's going to be a bit of a headache, and he needs to get to Gorn as soon as possible.
Yeah. So let me give you this or that to see where you're standing. So would you rather be playing Gorn and then having like an extra forward rookie on your field, such as Rankin? Or would you rather have Whitfield in your forward line and then be playing Naismith in your rucks? They're roughly about the same price. Those two. So basically Whitfield and Naismith are gone and playing a forward rookie.
No, I've toyed with that, to be honest. It's a hard one. I think I'd go Naismith, Whitfield.
Yeah, and so this is one of the things I've been weighing up really heavily post Marsh too, which is if I need to find the cash, am I happy going to Naismith? And the answer is maybe.
Yeah, the rookie's at between 200 and 250. I mean, I'm already running all of them anyway, so I need to find another one. If I trade, instead of Whitfield, it's Dustin Martin that I get rid of, for example.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I look at the whole team. I actually feel better with Naismith there, which is silly because he's probably going to get injured. That's another thing. He's played 20 games in 7 years or something. I don't know.
It's ridiculous. You talk about injury prone.
Yeah. So no for you on Naismith, Eno?
Yeah, I've done him aside with him in there. It looks unreal across all the other lines, and then I see him in R2 and I just freak out. I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. Just can't. Not
all right. So then, then what's your backup plan? So for me, this is kind of like a backup plan if rookies don't get named. What's your backup plan if
I think mine's 4 mids.
DNF8.
I think mine's 4 mids. I think it is. If we get enough rookies, of course.
So does that mean Jackson Haitley, F5? M5?
Okay, mate. Rightio.
Are you trying to sell Haitley wherever you can, George? Reduce your risk by getting everyone else to own him.
Well, who are you running? Who are you running in your mids? Are you going to throw Dev Smith or Houston in there or something?
That's another thing. Pick an extra forward and throw, whoever's got mid eligibility in the forward line at M5. That's another option. But then you probably got 4 forwards and Dev in the midfield. So you're picking 5 off the bat, which so it's a lot of tossing up. But I think 4 mids would be what I would do. I just can't see me dropping Gorn.
I reckon we could speak nearly 15, 20 minutes if we haven't already spoken that much on this. But it's a really interesting topic.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Anyway, we can move to forwards.
Yeah.
So we're going to do quick fire with these ones. Maybe go back over them. So all I want is a yes or a no as we go through, 10, 9 forwards.
So am I considering...
No ifs, no buts, no yes, no maybes, yes or no.
Am I going to start them or am I considering starting them?
Yeah, say that. Are you considering them, yes or no?
Okay.
That means you can say yes to nearly everyone then. Don't worry.
I won't.
Okay,
I won't.
So I'll say yes or no, then Eno, then JD. Darcy Parish. No.
No.
Yes.
Hugh Greenwood. No.
No.
McPherson. No.
No.
Petrarca. I'll say yes.
Yes. If no, he's not in my side. No.
No. Chad Wingard. Hell no.
No, thank you.
No.
Segler. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Coleman medalist 2020. Tom Lynch.
Yes. No.
Andy B. Brayshaw. I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no.
No.
Jack Stephen. No.
No.
Yes.
Ooh.
Devon Smith. Biggest yes of the lot.
Yeah. Yes.
I have to. You have to.
Exactly. All right, interesting.
That was
so where
fun.
do
we can go back over
where we
them.
differ. Where we differ.
So you liked Parrish, JD?
No, I think he said
Yeah,
no.
I'm still a big fan of Parrish. I think Essendon's midfield's looked a lot better when he's been in there. And look, maybe it's just the fact that I'm a Bombers man. I don't think we're going to be as bad as a lot of people are talking us up to be. So yeah, I also just see natural progression from Parrish. He's looking bigger and stronger each preseason. That's usually how they work. Great durability, and in the back half of last year, when he was playing that midfield role properly, he was averaging in the 90s or close to anyway. So yeah, I think he's a really good shot at getting to 95 average this year. But he is one of the more expensive like F2, F3 options, and he's not in my side at the moment just because I don't have the money for it. But I would love to start him.
I actually like Parrish, but I said no because they might screw with his role.
They might.
And he looked fantastic in the Marsh series. What 5 shots on goal in the third quarter or something stupid like that?
I think he kicked like 3-3 against Geelong to win that game. I mean, not that it really counts for preseason. And a couple of them were maybe a little bit cheap, but he was looking very good.
Yeah, from what I saw, all the preseason talk on him out of the club has been fantastic. But I didn't like he did not have many centre bounces in that Marsh too, and that kind of worries me. But if they said, he's playing 80% midfield this year, I would actually pick Parrish. But I don't know, so I'll no.
Yeah, one of the things they talk about with Essendon is, I guess, like Richmond model, given the coaching staff, is very much around how you free up midfield attendances for some of those small forwards. Get like McDonald to Moody, get Stringer and stuff rotating through. Make sure Smith gets enough mid time, and so they're looking for flexibility in their midfielders. McGrath can go back pocket, Parrish can go forward, Merritt and Shield can kind of go to the bench, and that's about it. So like I think McGrath and Parrish are the ones that are going to have to give up maybe some of those centre bounces to allow some of our other players to rotate through, and that's what scares me off Parrish more than anything else.
Yep. Nothing to add, Enno, or?
No, nothing for me to add on that. I did like him really, a month or two ago, but after seeing the Marsh, Dev is the one for me.
I think you'd probably rather spend an extra 50k or 30k on a Houston, Sicily, or Laird and move Brando around probably.
Yeah, it's another option.
A bit more security. Or you go down to 400k guy. Anyway, Hugh Greenwood. I hated this pick until Marsh 1. And in Marsh 2, he was pathetic. He looked like a guy who just received a 4-year contract and just started a family and moved to the Gold Coast.
Brandon Ellis?
He had his...
Yeah. Remember, was it Malcheski?
Oh, yeah.
He got that. He checked out as soon as he signed that contract. I think he didn't even make it through that 3-year contract when he went to the Gold Coast. Yeah, not for me, Hugh Greenwood. Lazy performance in the Marsh. Still could be fine. It was only that one performance that put me off, but yeah, no for me. Prefer the younger blokes.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add unless JD does.
I don't want to have to commit to watching more Gold Coast games this year just to make the players going. So that's actually a big reason why I'm not looking at him or McPherson.
Yes, you can say McPherson as well.
I was impressed with him. He styled all over the Crows, and if you don't do that, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
So didn't really play midfield, and half the half forward. Whenever he gets the ball off half forward, it's like it's going to end up in a scoring shot. That's what it felt like. So that was pretty good. Like the look of him, but Gold Coast factor, and it's just a lot of uncertainty about this guy. I just don't know. But yeah, role and Gold Coast, doesn't matter how good you are, honestly. Those two factors just put me off too much.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Jaws, on your favourite website, Big Footy, there was this Suns fan absolutely singing this guy's praises, and I was like, who the hell is Darcy McPherson? And I had a look, and he was averaging like mid-80s, or 83 or something like that, and had a few 130s, and I'm like, oh, this guy, he might be a good player, but he is a good player. It's just I don't think he's a relevant pick. He's not going to average high enough to be a relevant pick, although 2 120s in the Marsh or whatever it was is pretty impressive, but it was like, how many CBAs did he get? Like none, wasn't it? So be tough to keep that up week in, week out with that role, I think,
Yeah.
especially at Gold Coast.
It's funny you mentioned Big Footy because I think that's the place where he's most popular that I've seen at the moment.
There's that
in
Suns
terms of
fan,
pick.
JD, that just posts about him
He's convinced everyone.
non-stop. It must
George,
be
you
Dusty
need to get up there
McPherson.
and some Haitley.
Is that
You need to get up there and sell Haitley, George. All right? They need to have McPherson and Haitley.
We need to do a profile. Hey, don't put them in the same bracket.
Oh,
Haley,
okay. Sorry, man.
Haley's above. Don't worry about that. So they get dropped in round 5. Anyway, Christian Petrarca. Oh, this is like the most borderline yes for me. I'm not sure. Is scored like 180 on the Crows. Has the midfield role. For me, it doesn't make sense. He's really good in the forward line. Split him 50-50 forward mid. They have Brayshaw. They have Oliver. They have Viney. Sparrow probably has to play VFL. Or maybe, I don't know, 70-30. But in the forward mid, so more midfield. I don't mind it, but he could be anything. He's been threatening this for years. So I don't mind it, but I think I'll just skip him.
Does the James Harms moving to halfback give you more confidence though, or that's got to come into it? That gives.
But that's the thing. Can he actually score consistently in a midfield role? I haven't seen it.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got the centre bounce attendances, which is all you can ask for in terms of role. He played, I think, the most forward time he ever has in a year last year, and still averaged 85. So I mean, if he's getting the centre bounce attendances, I can easily see him going 100. I think he can get through the 100 barrier. So what we may see is some teething problems as he adjusts to playing 75-80% midfield time, where he does fade in and out of games. But I think overall across the course of the year, you're going to see him really come on strong. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think it wasn't someone I even considered running into Marsh 2, which is serious red alert, because generally shouldn't be picking players you haven't thought of before then. But I'm on. Lock him in.
I think he averages somewhere in the 90s. So wherever that is, I'm not sure. I'm not starting him at this point just because of structure. But yeah, I can definitely see myself jumping on at some point during the early parts of the year.
Yep. Chad Wingard. It's hard to trust Wingard. He had one quote from a year or two ago where he says, I get bored in the regular season, or bored when the game's not close, sort of thing.
So when does he actually care? Because I don't think he's played final.
Yeah. It's his body as well. It's a forward mid split. It's tickets on himself sort of thing.
That's the biggest reason for me.
We don't like that kind in our Supercoach teams. We have a no DH policy sort of thing. He might be an alright bloke, I don't know, but he just comes across as tickets on himself sort of bloke. But anyway, I think too unreliable as a Supercoach scorer for me. JD?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. He's a pass for me this year. There's just too many other options that I prefer.
Assume the same, Enno?
Yeah, mate, I'm the same. I had him on a list, I reckon, earlier, but with all the options that have popped up in the last week and a week or two, then I think he's way down the list.
Segler. I like John Segler. I think he's probably been waiting for this opportunity to play in the ruck for a long time. Always been kind of second fiddle or forward. So we have a 5-game sample size on him. I think the average is about low 90s. Maybe, no, it might be more than that. Might be high 90s.
It was 94.5 from memory.
Okay. So, played well, held his own against Gawn. Plays Grundy in round 3. That's kind of pissed me off a little bit because I want to start him. And the cover is nice, regardless of who you have, whether it's Naismith or Gawn or No Speaker or whoever. So, I actually like his game. He impressed in all the intra-clubs. You can only take so much out of those games. I think I'll pick Segler. If I don't pick Segler, it'll be Andy B. I just feel like there's a lot of upside in these 400 to between Smith and, I don't know, 420 to 330. There's so much value here that things that can potentially work. I'm not saying they will. I want to take I guess you can say punt on these guys, but I have reasonable confidence in Segler. The problem with Rucks, though, again, is they're going to score those 40s and 50s against Grundy and Gawn, which is going to kill their average a little bit. But provides value in cover, and I think he's passed the eye test for me.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it. I just the uncertainty, maybe what Clarko does. We never know what that man does. So, well, if Segler's underperforming or the big boy in defence isn't working for whatever reason. I mean, big boy got injured in the first Marsh game, so they haven't seen a lot of that yet. It's just a wait and see. You know what I mean? I want to pick a player that I know is going to do what he's going to do at the start of the year, and then go from there. Just monitor the other picks. So, not in my side for the start, but can certainly see him ending up in my side at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I've been considering him just because of the Naismith opportunity, and the thing that worries me is from everything I've looked at in the past stats, I just don't think that there's a ceiling there, and he ends up somewhere between like an 85 and a 95 average. If it's a 95 average and you start Naismith, I think that's a big win. If it's close to the 85, then Segler needs to be traded out and Naismith needs to be traded out, and then you're stuck in a quite awkward position. So that's like the only thing holding me back on going for him at the moment.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, as Enno said, it's that risk of, possible role change, and then his injury history hasn't been great. So I almost feel like I've been talked out of this pick here and this, what Enno had to say. But
you
still
just got
kind
to
of
put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Next we have Coleman. I think we'll just call him Coleman from now on. And Enno, I think you had him in your starting team. Tell us about him.
All right, so the tweet I made on Supercoach Take about 6 weeks ago came in with underdone, no preseason. Don't know how he played 22 games, but he played round one and he sort of made his preseason in the first half of the year. Second half, post-bye, average 92, and then if you want to include finals, it's 99. So he's priced at 71 average. It's way unders for what he can produce. I know he's a key forward. That's always a bit touchy if you select a key forward. I did have I know a lot of people had maybe Jeremy Cameron or Tom Hawkins last year, but we won't talk about them. But I love the pick. Full preseason now this year. He's a top scorer on Marsh 2 on the weekend. He kicked 4 goals in like 3 quarters. His potential's there. We have a soft draw early. Carlton round 1, obviously. Adelaide, St Kilda, I think round 3 and 4.
You always have a soft draw because you beat up on everyone.
Yeah, well, we just 1-0 every year, mate. We just lose to Carlton, so I like that. But nah, it's a risky pick. I understand that, but you got to take risks to win this thing. So I love picking Tom Lynch plus the homer pick. So you got to love that.
3-9 is not a lot. Yeah. Just touch on when you said you have to take some risks in this game. Not sure if I like that. I always try and take risks. It's fun and it's rewarding.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not picking him because it's a risk. I'm picking him because I actually think he's a good pick. Like, he actually is way unders for what he can do, and I think he can average 90 to 95, early on. And with lack of rookies and stuff like that, cheaper forwards, I think he's one of the good options.
I like him. He's my F4 or F3, depends on how it goes down. But yeah, I agree with everything you said, and that's why I'm picking him. JD.
Yeah.
I like him. If I had a little bit more money, I'd probably turn Steven into him at the moment. I think he probably won't go above 100, but I think his floor's pretty safe. He's a great player to watch as well. He's also at a good age. I mean, he's someone that feels like he's been around forever just because of his time at Gold Coast, but he's only, I think, 28. So it's not like we should see any decline due to age. And with the full preseason, we may start to see him roam up and down the ground a little bit more. And there are a lot of games last year where he was just parked at full forward, only got 4 or 5 touches, and that was it. And if all of a sudden those games just come to 10 or 12, and then he still has games where he kicks, 5-6 goals, you could really see a quite a nice season come together for Tom Lynch.
I think, if he can get to that 15 disposals, I think 95 plus.
That's what it was. It was a tale of two halves. He only averaged, I think, 8 or 9 touches the first half last year, hence the 70 average or whatever, and then upped it to 15 or something in the second half. So if you can maintain that 15,
so 13 and a half disposals in the second half and averaged 95, was it? After
92 and then 99, including finals.
Yeah.
So
which is 99 after the bye, including finals.
That's it.
No,
yep.
90, yeah.
That's it. If you don't include finals, 92 it was from round 13 to 23.
Yeah, okay.
With that 47 against Brisbane in round 23. So we
Okay,
don't want those, but yeah, move on.
So Andrew Brayshaw, I've been calling him a trap for like 3 months. And then, and I called Warpaw a trap last year. I just fell into I didn't look into him enough. I just thought, unproven, played 9 games or something like that, played 10 games in his career, supposed to break out at 400k. Seemed ridiculous to me. But we saw he got a full-blown midfield opportunity. Andrew Brayshaw's, he's the sidekick to Nat Fyfe, I think. He's not going to play elsewhere. Tackles hard, plays hard. I like him. Good lad. Unfortunately, he has the Brayshaw gene, which is, disposal efficiency in the 60s. So there's going to be games where he scores, plays really well, 115, 120, and then you check fan footy and he's scored 90 or maybe 95. So, and then he has a bad game and that 90 turns into a 75. So I don't mind it. He's very cheap and he's playing midfield. And Fyfe has big raps on him and they've had big raps on him all through the preseason. So for 380, 390, I don't mind it.
So I am not a big fan of Brayshaw. I think opportunity is king and the opportunity seems to be there. I just think that with Freo regressing probably again and the uncertainty around the midfield, what they're going to do there with the young guys, it's just not a pick that I like.
Yeah, I can see it high 80s, low 90s. Possibly.
Yeah, I can't see 95 plus, and I think for these, you're trying to find the diamonds in the rough that will actually get over 95. I can see Petrarca doing it. I can't see Brayshaw doing it.
Yeah, that's fair. We can go to Jack Stephen. I think people were trading out Smith for Stephen about 15 minutes in to his Marsh 2 game. So I just don't like the fact that he's 30 and had calf niggles. That's pretty much all there is to it. But he's been durable for a long time before that. Won 4 best and fairest. Ultimate professional for a long time. Just had a few things go on last year. Not for me. I like Smith and Lynch better. Enno?
Yeah, I mean, feels like we're copying each other, but no, we're the same. I don't just like how he can easily re-injure that calf. I know it's not Bennell level, but that man doing a calf again. And injury-prone guys, once you get that sort of injury at that age, it's really hard to get off it. He looked good. I mean, he looked good. He said he was gassed post-game at about half-time, so I can understand that as well. But I think Devon's the better pick at this stage, so that's who I'm rolling with.
Yeah, so I'm weighing up between Stephen and Lynch, and I'm currently sitting on the side of Stephen. It's just the upside is there for me. The mid opportunity is going to be there. He's been an absolute gun in the past, but I feel like I'm trading a little bit of upside with Stephen for some injury risk, where like Tom Lynch is probably a little bit safer and probably doesn't have as high
lower ceiling.
So I think, yeah, that's the trade-off I think I'm making there at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good way to weigh him up.
Yes, so Devon, I think, it's too much of a risk not to start him, in my opinion. How do you guys think about it? Enno?
Devon Smith.
Yeah.
I was really not against him, but didn't have him in my side for a while until even after the first Marsh game. I didn't still, but that second one, the role was there. I think JD would know more, but Parrish played that little bit more forward, and Stephen's role didn't change. He still had the same 9 or 10 CBAs. A bit of that half forward, I think he's just way too much value to pass up. You know, he looks fine. He doesn't look like the injury from last year's hampering him at all. I just don't see how you don't start him.
Yeah, I can't see how you don't start him at the moment either. I was off him most of the preseason just because I thought that he wasn't getting enough time in the midfield with all the rotations we're planning. And I've kind of changed simply because they're going to give him some regardless. And I also am not sure it matters enough. His work rate around the ground and his tackling does seem like it's going to be there, that at his price, he's going to be value. Whether he cracks top 6 forwards, I'm not entirely sure, but I think he will be close enough that at his price you have to start him.
Yeah, I agree. That is everyone. So thanks so much for joining us, JD. I've been calling you
Thanks for having me,
JD
guys.
and Davey. Anyway, yeah, pleasure. Always welcome, part of the fam here. So, Enno as well, fantastic work again, Enno.
Awesome, mate. Goodbye, you. Will we have one next week before the season kicks off? If it does.
If I don't break my computer, we'll do that.
All right. Look forward to it.
All right, thanks, guys, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.